that in the real world so that you understand. So the module 1 is like the need of agile transformation, you know, in project management. Why is it important that we are going through agile transformation? Now, what do we understand by project management? I always tell you that there is agile because there is project, and anything you can think of is a project. Whether you are building a house, it's a project. Whether you are even cook in your house, it's a project. I always like to say that whether you are making a baby or you are getting married, it's a project. And that project must have a lot of things you have to plan. You cannot just come up like that, even if you just take food. You cannot just get up like that and just cook without planning. You know that, okay, I'm cooking rice today. Do I have rice at home? Do I have, what kind of rice? Is it going to be with peanut sauce? Is it going to be with, is it tomato sauce? So those are planning. If you, okay, now I need tomato sauce, I need peanut sauce, who can sell that to me? Those are stakeholders. So when they take it and they take it in a big name, bringing back to the smaller reality every day. Your stakeholder is, if you don't have somebody giving you tomato or selling you tomato, will you be able to cook that tomato sauce? If Walmart doesn't deliver tomato and nobody, no store is delivering tomato, it's a problem. That means what happened to those stores selling tomatoes is already a problem for you. So you have to make sure that your stakeholder is doing well. You want to stay engaged with your stakeholder. Okay, so that is the first thing.
We can do
the first thing, you want to meet yourself. Sorry.
Yes.
The first thing to pay attention to. Now, we are talking about project management now, before we talk about agile. Anything you can see, whether it's road, hospital, anything, airplane, anything you can see, there is a project manager behind those projects. That is why I always tell you, yes, do agile and land the job, but the model of agile is what? It's project management. You are using agile into project management. And when we talk about project management, we have what we call 5 process group. Initiation, where you gather requirements, we talk more about that. Planning, execution, controlling, and closing, right? Those are 5 major process groups when it comes to project management. And these 5 process groups, we have what we call knowledge area. And some of those knowledge areas have all the 5 process groups, some don't. So we have what? Time management, cost management, scope management, quality management, risk management, communication management, human resources management, procurement management, and integration management. Those are the key when it comes to project management. If you understand this, then you are into game, right? Because then we tell you that how do you leverage time, which is time management, in the initiation phase? How do you leverage that? For instance, if let's take something differently. If you are giving your clothes to a tailor, the more complex is your clothes, the more time it takes, right? The more complex the criteria that you give to the tailor, the more time you take, the longer it takes. That means you have to manage time based on the initiation. Even when she's collecting the requirement from you, when we talk about initiation, she's collecting the requirement. That means you say, okay, I want my clothes to be this way. I want this to be like this. I want this different things. So when you make it complex, it takes more time, it takes more material, it takes more skill. That's why we talk about cost. You see that during the installation, we talk about cost. We want to define the scope. How big is the scope? For her to tell you that, okay, you are going to pay $300 for this clothes, it's based on the complexity of what you are giving her to do. The same way, the time, if we tell you, okay, it's going to take me 5 months or 1 month, depending on the complexity, right? And then the quality now, the quality come into place too, because the way she's delivering that matters to you. So you see that in the planning, you already have some idea of what is going to happen in the initiation, in the planning. So all those elements come into place. We will go into detail and I can give you some elements, but let's pay attention to this. This now we are applying what I'm saying in the software development, because most of the job that you'll be getting is going to be in the software development. Okay, so those are the 5 process group: planning, initiation. So when you are initiating the project, what happened? You are meeting with the key stakeholder, and you are asking them question. Okay, Mr. Stakeholder, what do you need? What are you suffering from? They will tell you, okay, I have this, maybe my process is not working, it's taking too long, or I cannot reach my customer easily, I do everything manually. All that, those are the need that is they're expressing that to you. Okay, now that you have all the need, what are you looking to improve? I want that. I want to be able to automate my process. That means my customer can come and I don't need to do anything. Everything is automated. I want to save time when my customers come into my website. I want my customer to take 5 seconds to operate whatever transaction they have to do. Those are what? Those are the requirements that you are gathering during the initiation phase so that you can define the scope. So when you gather that requirement, you make sure there is many ways to communicate to your stakeholder. It could be through survey, it could be through one-on-one meeting like we are connecting now, or you're asking questions. It could be through maybe a design, maybe through email, or they just meet you during the review and give you another feedback from what you have done already. So that is the initiation. And remember, in the waterfall way, the initiation phase, you have to collect everything, every single requirement before you move to the next phase. But in the agile, you don't really need to collect everything. You just have to have high level and then start with one you understand the most, the one that brings you the most value. The planning now, when you have all that information, help you to plan. You want to plan the risk. What is the risk involved? You want to plan the cost. You want to plan the scope. Remember, we talk about knowledge area. So you see that in the planning, multiple things come into place. You want to plan the communication. What do you want to communicate with those guys? And now, during the execution, you want to ask yourself, do I use Waterfall to do this project? Do I use Agile to do this project? Because some project, Waterfall can be also good for that. I'm not telling you that Waterfall is bad. It's when you understand the scope of the project, you understand everything about the project, you have a clear vision of the project, Waterfall is the best way to do. But if the project is complex and that scope is not very clear, Agile is the best thing to go with, right? So during the execution phase, I take again the tailor who is doing your clothes. If you understand the clothes, you know exactly what to do, she go ahead and do your clothes. But if you don't understand, maybe she can start doing, doing maybe the sleeve, and then you fix it and you see how it fits, and then she will go and do another piece of the cloth, which is not yet there. Those tailors are not yet agile. They are all waterfall right now, right? But that is where we are going. That's the mentality, the culture that people need to think about now. Now, monitoring means what? You want to control to see, are we the quality of what they are doing? Does it have the quality that is expected? Is it within the cost, the budget, the timeline? You see, all those are very, very important. And now, when all that is checked, now you close off the project. Somebody have to sign off. Please, can somebody mute himself, please? Somebody is making a loud noise. I don't know how to control the mute. Let me see here. I'm still struggling with him. Rosie, is it you? Everybody is muted except you.
I don't think so. I'm by myself here.
Okay. That's right. All right. So when now everything is done, somebody have to sign off. Now somebody have to say, okay, this is good. And now you check and then you close out the project. That's how the process works. But now, and now people are moving from the idea of project to the idea of product. Why? Because product have more value, the life cycle is longer, and the customer is more delighted. They are looking mainly to satisfy the customer. The project mindset is that you start a project, the project have a start and the end date. A product mindset is that the product have a start and can be monitored even when it's closed. That project have to be maintained until he gets retired. So the project or the product mindset is where Agile bring into place. Now, when we talk about project here, just think of that. It could be anything. It could be a website. It could be a system, medical system, a user interface on the medical area, or a software enhancement. Those are product, right? And now, so talking about waterfall. So this is what it means. Waterfall is the first methodology, the old methodology, oldest methodology. Actually, we only have two methodology, Waterfall and Agile. Now we have hybrid, okay? It's a mixture of Waterfall and Agile, but those are the two main methodology. So when something is not Waterfall, it's Agile. Now it's kind of half-half, but most of the time, those are the main methodology. So this is what happened. You take all the requirements, do the design, do the development, do the testing, and close. And that's why we always say it's heavy. It's heavy because you are building 10 room in your house. You take all the 10 room, then you design all the 10 room, leave the wall for the 10 room before you do the room. It's a lot of heavy load. That means it takes a long time for the client to discover the product. And that is why it's a problem. That is why we have those challenges. The first challenge, you will see that it takes about maybe 2 months just to gather the requirement. Take another 1 month maybe for the design architecture. Take another 4 months to do the coding. Take another 2 months to do the testing for the customer to see the product. It's too long. It's too long. But in the Agile way, it takes about 2 weeks and the customer has to have a feel of what you are doing. That's why Agile is taking place. That's why companies are transforming themselves into Agile, right? Because what? Poor risk management. You can't manage risk in this way. Why? Because you discover the risk late in the project that costs you more money to fix. Poor visibility. You can't tell from the first month where you are going. You have no idea. Poor quality. If you are doing the wrong thing, you are going to do the testing at the end, so you won't even know. Poor change management. You see, if now you are here and the customer want to change something here, what happened? You will tell the customer that if you have to change, you have to do another documentation and sign before we change. It's too complicated. So those are the limitations that comes with Waterfall. Does that mean that Waterfall don't have any strength? No. Again, Waterfall is easy, to understand and to apply. If you have, it provides structure for inexperienced staff. If you don't have experience, they give you a book, you can follow that pattern and you do it. But Agile is not like that. Agile is kind of try and fail type of methodology. If you understand the milestone, then Waterfall is good for it. But you have to have a good management control. If you don't have that control, it's hard to really perform Waterfall properly. And again, let's see what are the challenges. We talk about this already. You complete one phase, you start another phase, you complete, you don't think of going back to the next phase. When you complete a phase, you don't go back to it. So that gives you a lot of risk. That gives you a lot of challenge. That is the reason why Agile came into place for what we call SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. You will see that in the job requirement. Do you have experience in software development lifecycle? It just means that you know that to design a software, you have to start with the planning and do analysis. That means make sure that the requirement is understood. You do the selection and make sure that you prioritize the requirement. Then you do the design. Then you do the development. That means you do the coding. Then you do the testing. Then you maintain. So before what happened? You do all the planning. Then you do all the analysis. And then before you do the design, and when you finish the design, you don't go back again to the design, you just do the coding. Then you go to the testing and implementation, right? Now, Agile came into place, and because we face issue, we just kind of methodology where everything is done at once. You build more feature than you need. Remember, we want you to build what you need, not just to build everything. So when you build more features that you need, that means you will run out of the cost. You will run out of the time easily. You build low priority item first, because you didn't prioritize your work, because you say, okay, I need a website, I need 5 pages, and all the design is happening on the 5 pages. You don't prioritize, so you carry everything, and then it can be very, very heavy. You build the right thing in the wrong way, right? You build the right thing wrongly, maybe because you don't have all the resources to support that. Now you start doing anyhow just to keep up with the deadline. Find out the reason why your client need what they need. You don't have a way to find out, and then too much documentation. And every piece of document you sign, too much documentation. And then sometimes you discover the best functionality at the end. You can't do anything. You can't change it anymore. And what happened? High rates of cancellation. Those are the issues that you face. And look at these. These are very, very important. Why is it that Agile and Lean? Lean thinking is building the right thing, avoiding waste. Avoiding waste by building the right thing. Only build what you need. That is how you think Lean. Now look at this. Most feature, and you can, this is the source of the document. Most feature, what happened? 45% of the feature that are built have never been used. This is a big problem. That means people build things that they don't use. And if you even check, even in your closet, you will see that 45% of your clothes, you don't wear them. You will see that it's applied everywhere. And 19% are rarely used. 16% are used sometime. So only 13 and 7%, only like 20% are really used. Did we tell you the story of what? 80-20 rule. Why? That means Agile now come into place, and how do the Agile do it? Agile take that 20%, which is this one, and put 80% resources on this, because this one is really not much use. And then if there is remaining resource, then they put it here. But Waterfall, how do they do it? They carry everything, and guess what? At the end, they run out of cost. That is the problem. That is what companies are transforming into Agile. Now look at the way Agile do it. We saw Waterfall was going all the way down. Agile, you see, they do the same planning, but they keep doing it in circle. Every 2 weeks, you do the same thing. Every 2 weeks, what happened? You sit, you do the requirement gathering, you do the design, you do the development testing and all that every 2 weeks during the sprint. That is the methodology that Agile come into place. You decide what to build, and you build that in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or maximum 1 month. You go through all that requirement in circle, and then the next week you go through a new one. That's what it means when it comes to Agile. Now, let's see the comparison. And we are comparing based on those elements here, right? At the organizational level, when it's a Waterfall organization, they talk about department. When it's an Agile organization, they talk about team. There's no department. When at the people level, when it's Waterfall, they talk about specialists. You will see front-end developer, back-end developer, QA. When it's Agile, they talk about cross-functional team. They talk about developers. They don't say front-end, back-end, even though we know that you have those qualifications, but it's not like out loud. They just say the team. When it comes to process flow, with Waterfall is linear. It go from initiation, planning, design, development, and testing. Oh, when it comes to Agile, what happened? We keep going in circle. It's cyclical, right? We go in circle all the time. Every 2 weeks, we start the process. Now, when it comes to the project scope, When you define the project scope in Waterfall, it's fixed. You don't do anything, don't change it. In Agile, it's variable. It can always change. You accept change even at the last minute of the project. When it come to cost, what happened? The cost is fixed in theory in Waterfall. But in Agile, it could be fixed or variable, depending. Okay. Now, design. The design on Waterfall is upfront. Let's say you are designing the website. The person who is designing the website will go through the entire wireframe with you to say, do you agree until you say yes, before they go now and do the development. They don't give you the opportunity to design one page, test on one page, and let you see it. But if it's Agile, what happened? They call it the just in time. They only do what is required at that specific moment. That's what they call just in time requirement. Now, when it comes to verification, in the Agile way, they talk about after implementation. You cannot verify if you are still working on it. You have to wait until you finish before you verify. Agile verification happens during implementation. You do it 2 weeks, you show it to the stakeholder, they give you feedback, you come back and you start doing it again. Now, delivery. In the delivery, it happened after verification. So everything is sequential. But Agile is continuous delivery. You deliver one piece today, tomorrow you deliver another piece until the whole project is done. That's why Agile is beautiful, because of that. So you usually will see this. You see that with Waterfall, the scope is fixed and the resources and time is flexible or variable. With Agile, the resource and time are variable and the scope are fixed. What am I saying? The resource and time are fixed and the scope are variable. They can always change depending on what they are trying to do. Now, this is just telling you more about Agile. Let me just move it on. This is just the similar way of seeing that every iteration, when they talk about iteration, they are talking about sprint. You go through the entire process, every single sprint. You go through the requirement analysis, design, implementation, testing, every single sprint. So, and that is how Agile works. Again, it's the same way. It's just a way for you to visualize it in the different, different view. But all that is really what is happening. Now, they are comparing Agile LDLC. When you come to software development lifecycle, we have waterfall methodology that we know, planning, design, development, testing, deployment, monitoring, and all that. In Agile, what happened? The project is divided into short and transparent iteration. That means it's into sprint. You have flexible process. It's always flexible. You minimize the risk when it comes to software development. You don't take too much risk. If you take the risk for 2 weeks and you know that it's bad, you can correct it very fast. Pre-release of the first version. In the waterfall, you can take about 20 weeks for the client to see something. In the Agile, you to be Agile. That is why companies need Agile, because of all these limitations or all this advantage when it comes to Waterfall and Agile. As you can see, we already talk about fixed scope, fixed budget, define all the requirements, scope evolve, but budget and schedule remain the same. Big bang deployment, which is very bad, because when you do the deployment of the entire process, error can happen. Agile is what? Sequence-based return on investment. You prioritize your business value. You deliver based on the business value. You do the prioritization. You don't need, you make your team happy. They are involved in what you are doing. And you have a lot of comparison here that you can go through. I'm going to skip some of them. That is why we came back to this. Why companies are moving from Waterfall to Agile. The question that we want to ask is, are they adopting Agile or are they going through Agile transformation? Because those are two concepts, right? Agile adoption or Agile transformation. These are the examples. Agile adoption means you adopt Agile from the book. That's why they usually argue, are you being Agile or are you doing Agile? Most companies are doing Agile, but they are not being Agile. So what is the difference between the two? The difference is that doing Agile means you do your daily stand-up, you do the retro, you do all those meetings, but the mindset have not changed. That means the organization still not trusting the team to make a decision. They still maybe push the work to the team. There are a lot of things that are not yet designed in the Agile way. Like they don't have the DevOps mentality where they do continue deployment, continue integration. Those are being Agile. For the company to get to that point, it takes them a level of maturity. Now, but what happened? You want to try to go, to start to encourage your company to at least adopting Agile, and gradually they can transform themselves into Agile. So it takes some work. But the first thing that you want to ask is, why are they even adopting Agile at the first place? Because you can be that Agile transformation leader. The first thing that you want to evaluate is, why do they need Agile? Is it because they want to go to the market faster? Is it because they want to cut down the delivery time? Is it because they want a customer delight? Is it because they want the team to be happy? It could be any reason. So find out why they need Agile. For instance, to find out why they need something, you want to know their frustration. And those are the common frustration. Maybe the company, the customer are frustrated because they are waiting too long. Maybe the staff are not happy. Maybe the request that are sending, the request that you push in get lost because there is no visibility. Then they realize that there's a time for them to change the way they are doing things. Because what happened that all that happened? Because they lack priority. They don't have all the resources. They accumulate things. There's no visibility. There could be a problem. So when you understand the challenges that the company is going through, then you also want to gain buy-in from the executive, because if you just get the challenge and they don't buy in, you cannot do much, right? So you want to evaluate to see, are they even willing to change? Are they willing to change when it comes to Agile, right? If they're willing to change, then you can help them in that Agile transformation. Now, how do you help them? You want to identify their culture. Is it this type of company that they use command and control, like they always dictate things to the team? They are not willing to listen to the team, or they are flexible? Are the people, are they focused on change? Can they even change at all? You will meet some company where people are working there for long. They are so afraid of change that change is so scary for them. Or are they focused or process focused people, or are they product focused? Remember, Agile is product focused and Waterfall is process focused. When you want to change something with those kind of people, what do they tell you? We've been doing this since I'm being in this company for 30 years, and we have been doing this and we have been working. So it becomes difficult for you to even implement any change. Trust. The management have to trust the team and know that the team can be self-organized. Otherwise, it's hard to achieve that goal. The first thing is what? You have to gain the support of the people from the organization. You have to see those who are Agile champions. They are open to embrace change. Then you implement change with them. At the executive level, at the middle management level, and at the team level, you want to have those guys that you want to work with, so that they can also empower others to change. Now, prepare yourself for what? Pushback. You will have a lot of pushback, right? But the first thing that you want to do is invest in helping on the company or implementing training. They have to know what is it that they are doing, what they are doing. What is the benefit of that? But don't make it mandatory. making voluntary training. And those who took the training, they can now implement and they will see the change. Now you have to create a plan with the leadership. You cannot do it by yourself. When you have a plan now you also have to be patient because you are dealing with people. And I went through a lot of interview, so I know sometimes they will tell you that, oh, this role is a backfill role because the previous person was too pushy. You don't want to be too pushy. You want to be diplomatic in your ways. Yes, be nice, but don't be too nice. So now train the team. Training is very important. Get those agile champion in the room. And those are the things that you want to do. When you have all that now, you can start now with your agile project, what they call pilot project. A small project that is not going to be 2 weeks, that can take about 8 to 12 weeks, and that have less risk, but that is going to cover the entire agile ceremony. That means all the grooming session planning have to happen. You want to use the right tool like Jira, Rally, Confluent, all those, depending on what your organization is having in place. Then build a team. Build a team. Small team, maybe a business. You have a business owner who are giving you the requirement. They are the agile champion. They are maybe sponsoring that project, and you have the PO. Maybe you are the Scrum Master, and you have your team of developers that you want to work with. And that's how you start implementing, right? Implementation here take what? You want to do the kickoff, right? Remember, it's the first time for that organization. You want to do the kickoff meeting. That means the project sponsor have to do a kickoff event where they tell why they are using this methodology, what is important. So when they do that, they take the floor and they will explain the context. They will explain the timeline. They will introduce the team. And then maybe you as an agile champion, you can come now and talk about roadmap, or the PO can talk about roadmap. This project will take us about so months, this number of sprints. We will be using Rally or Jira to perform our project management tools as a project management tools. And you talk about the framework. We are going to be leveraging Agile, maybe Scrum framework to be able to do that. And then the length of the Scrum, the sprint, you have to agree on, okay, this sprint is going to take us maybe 2 weeks. And we'll be doing our daily stand-up every day to answer specific questions. So that's how you implement that change, so you can help the company to kick off their first project. But the main key that you want to go through, you see that on your job application, they always ask you, how do you manage change? Remember when we talk about a knowledge area, how do you manage change? Because change happens when it comes to project. Even if you want to implement Agile, you want people to change their mindset. And this change, this model is the model that I always use. Let's say an interviewer will ask you, okay, how do you go about change? I will always tell them that I like Agile model of change. Why? Because I want to make sure that the team is aware about that change. Raise the awareness. When they are aware about the change, they want to know why they are changing. They want to have the benefit of why they are changing. You cannot tell them to change something without showing them the benefit. Now, when you give them the benefit, you also want to gauge to know, are they even having any will of changing anything? Are they in the desire of change? If they are not open to change, you cannot really implement that change. So you want to understand, if they are not open to change, what is impacting them from not opening to change, so that you now address those resistance. So now, when you understand their viewpoint, because they can have an agreement, they're not open to change because they feel like that change will disrupt something in their organization. You want to understand why are they resistant to change and address their fear. give the floor to everybody. Make sure that everybody express themselves. Now, when you get that, the third thing that you want to know is what? Preparing them in that change. That means providing them the knowledge. It could be the training, it could be the communication, it could be the tracking, whatever you want to do. So provide them what they need to be able to perform that change. And then when they have that, the next action is what? How you implement the change. That means they have to have that ability. They are trained to have the change. Now, when they are trained to have the change, you have to track to see, are they doing it the right way? Do they need any other extra training? Do they need extra resources to be able to do that change? And then make sure that the change stick. That means you want to make it as a culture. That's why we talk about agile. It could be agile, it could be any kind of change. You want to make that change to be a cultural thing in that very specific group. It could be the change is happening in your small group of developer. It could be happening at the enterprise level. So, but you have to go through this model. And this is the agile model of doing the change as well. It's the same. Give them the desire and give them that. It's just going through the same thing. And I think this is all. Okay, so this slide is just to tell you the level of change. Change happen if we come to agile transformation. The transformation has to happen at the leadership level, then at the organizational level, and then at the product level, and then at the team level. Because if for you to tell that your company is fully agile, all this level must embrace agile, and that is very difficult to see. That's why we see always agile, waterfall, or somebody, or hybrid model, and all that. So this is what we have available for